In 1978, police officer dug beneath a quiet suburban home in Chicago and uncovered a nightmare. For decades, John Wayne Gacy has been a symbol of evil, a name whispered with disgust and disbelief. But in 2025, Devil in Disguise reopened his case, not to sensationalize, but to understand how such darkness could live among us undetected. Released on Peacock in October 2025, this eight-part series blends dramatization and documentary. It was directed by Rod Blackhurst. Devil in Disguise draws from court transcript, police interviews, and unseen footage, giving us a chillingly human portrait of Gacy, the killer who hid behind a painted smile. The show doesn't only ask what Gacy did, it asks how he got away with it. How did a man so ordinary fool so many for so long? John Wayne Gacy was the model citizen, a small business owner, community volunteer, and part-time clown known as Pogo. The show's first episode highlights this double life, the way Gacy's public charm shaded his private cruelty. Through skillful storytelling, Devil in Disguise reintroduces us to Gacy, as many saw him in real life, approachable, generous, even funny. In this contrast that makes the truth so disturbing, he wasn't hiding in the shadows. He was shaking hands at the neighborhood barbecues. The tension built slowly. Boys and young men begin to vanish. Families file police reports. But in 1970s Chicago, their cries go unanswered. The series captures the frustration and fear. Parents labeled hysterical, police dismissing sons as runaways. What emerges is a story not just of one killer, but of systematic failure where class, sexuality, and indifference let a predator roam free. When police finally searched Gacy's home in December 1978, they made a discovery so horrifying it would change criminal history forever. 29 bodies were buried in the crawl space, others discarded in the Des Plaines River. Gacy smiled as he described the smell of dead rats. He knew it wasn't rats. The show doesn't dwell on gore. It dwells on disbelief. The disbelief that no one saw it sooner. Devil in Disguise refuses to paint Gacy as a monster inhumanly distant. Instead, it reveals a chilling truth that evil can be ordinary, articulate, and persuasive. Through interviews with psychologists and dramatized jail conversations, we see a man who built lies on top of lies until he believed them himself. The real terror isn't that Gacy was different, is that he wasn't. Unlike earlier retellings, this 2025 series places victims and families at the center. Each name, each photo, each story restored to dignity and humanity. Viewers meet the brothers, mothers, and friends who never gave up, who turned grief into testimony. It's here that Devil in Disguise becomes more than a true crime show. It becomes a memorial, a reminder of resilience and remembrance. Gacy was executed in 1994, still claiming innocence, but his story didn't end here. The series examined his lasting cultural shadow, how his crimes shaped profiling, forensic science, and public fear. The series ends not with revenge, but with understanding that vigilance, compassion, and truth are the only defenses we have against deception. Devil in Disguise isn't just about murder. It's about mask. The ones killer wear, and the ones society creates to feel safe. Gacy wasn't a creature of darkness. He was a man who looked like everyone else. And that's what makes him unforgettable. The 2025 adaptation challenges us to rethink how we see evil, not as a monster in the dark, but as someone we might pass in daylight. It's a warning, a memorial, and a reminder that every disguise eventually slips. This was dedicated to the victims of John Wayne Gacy. Behind every story of horror lies a story of loss, and behind every mask, a truth waiting to be uncovered. Devil in Disguise is more than the story of John Wayne Gacy. It's a mirror, one that forces us to look at the faces around us, and sometimes at ourselves. It reminds us that evil rarely announces itself. It wears masks, politeness, charm, success, and it thrives in the shadows of indifference. The neighbors didn't see. The police didn't act. The world didn't want to believe. And that's the moral thread that runs through this story. That silence and disbelief can be as dangerous as cruelty itself. Gacy was a killer, yes, but the series asks a harder question. How many others helped him without even knowing it? How many times did people choose comfort over curiosity, convenience over confrontation? The lesson is about fear. It's about awareness, about empathy. It's about listening when someone disappears, believing the frightened and paying attention to the quiet signs that something isn't right. The victims of Gacy weren't only taken by one man. They were failed by a society that didn't see their worth. Poor boys, young men, often gay, often alone. Devil in Disguise restored them to humanity. It names them. It remembers them. When we tell stories like this, we walk a thin line between fascination and responsibility. But if we tell them with care, they become lessons, not obsessions. They teach us what happens when empathy disappears and what we must do to keep it alive. Because the real disguise isn't the one Gacy wore. It's the disguise of apathy, the one we all wear when we say, "It's not my problem." So, if there is one truth to take from Devil in Disguise, it's this. Evil isn't born, it's allowed. It grows in the crack of our silence, and it fades only when we dare to see it. To remember is to resist, and that's why stories like this matter. I would like everyone to watch this show. It is for me the best show of 2025. The cast is superb. The tone is perfect. And as I said before, nothing is made there for extra dramatization. It's a cruel story that happened to unfortunate people and where most of us looked away. It is for me, really, definitely the series you have to watch this year. It's not like the Monster series maybe you have watched before. It has a more humane approach to it, I would say. Even the way everyone is portrayed, you feel close to everyone, even from Gacy himself. There is, how can I say, an eerie feeling when you watch it. Because you could make friends with Gacy, I suppose. He was quite a charming man. And you wouldn't question his weird quirks. You would say, everybody is different, you know. He's not hurting anyone. He was. So it is by far for me the best series of 2025. And I really hope that each and every one of you will watch it. So don't forget, subscribe, tell your friends to subscribe, Tell your family to subscribe. Like this video, that will help me. And if you want me to make any videos about any series or movies, recent or older, I will be more than happy to oblige. So I hope you will enjoy this video, and I hope to see you next time, of course.